Today we're going to talk about another acronym, ICHRA or ICHRA, the Employer Healthcare Game Changer. So talk about ICHRA a bit. First of all, how does an individual coverage health reimbursement arrangement actually work from the employer and the employee side?
The employer gives up to X amount of dollars for the employees to buy their health insurance on the marketplaces.
How many people do that, Tom?
Well, a lot of people are being suckered into it because the key to the health insurance, the people aren't buying it right. So they're buying silver or gold plans when they should all buy bronze, and the employer should cover some of the deductible tax-free. And the individual coverage has restrictions, whereas a medical expense reimbursement plan has none. So if you do an ICHRA versus a MERP, you probably need to go see a good shrink. And ICHRA's, I mean, all they're doing is they're saying you can go and get individual coverage elsewhere, and it gets the employer out of the benefit gain. But why do employers offer health insurance in the first place? To retain and attract employees. So why would you give them where they have $10,000 out of pockets now?
And how do you make sure that they're spending on the healthcare and not getting healthcare at all?
Well, they have to prove certain things, it's just not doesn't make sense.
How many
it makes sense if you don't know about a medical expense reimbursement plan.
I got it. And how many people you think companies are doing this? A lot?
No, because of what I said. I'm not against them. It's just there's same tax law has a better vehicle to do more than, it's like an ICHRA on huge steroids. Makes no sense.
Okay.
And they don't have all these silly rules.
Who sells the ICHRA?
Agents who are desperate because the group health insurance, they have no solutions there. So they go, oh, everyone should have an individual plan. I call them ICHRA heroes, like Hogan. And all they're doing is they're trying to they charge fees and all these other things. And I have no problem with fees, but there's a better vehicle to deliver not only premium reimbursement, but also cover deductibles and allow people a choice. The other problem is in some states they have narrow networks. So like Ohio, you can't get a PPO plan. They're all HMOs. Now in some states like Pennsylvania, you can get PPOs, or Michigan. But the issue is you with the medical expense plan, you can have a group plan and then give them that option if they choose it and they stay in the network. It's just a better vehicle because you don't have to get rid of group health insurance. That in some cases is cheap, much cheaper. They buy it right than individual plans anyways.
Why are employers moving away from traditional group health plans in favor of ICHRAs?
Why? Because they haven't been shown a medical expense reimbursement plan. That's why they've allowed their group health agents to convince them to do something else, so the group health agents don't lose their cases. So they charge these fees to make up for their lost commissions. If they did it right, they would gravitate to what we're doing.
It makes you're right, because they're not going to know what to purchase on the plan on the
Oh, they have people, and they have things, and they claim they do this or that. But for example, you tell me, hey Tom, I'm on the drug Humira, and I say, well, Neil, you want the lowest cost bronze plan because then you get the Humira card that pays for your whole deductible and you have no out of pocket. So don't worry about the $10,000 deductible plans. That's what you want. You want the cheapest plan you can buy because you're not going to have any out of pocket, because Humira's card covers up to $14,000 a year.
And we're going to take people through healthcare.gov next week. So I have to remind you about that, and we can talk about that, because it's not easy. Oh my gosh, I went through it, and it's
not easy. But the problem is, it's like you need bypass surgery, right? So you go to the doctor and they can do robotic, or most doctors are doing it robotic, and you're out in a day or two where you used to be in for 2 weeks, maybe longer, right? Because they'd split your rib and it was painful as hell, I guess, and they would split your heart, go in and do it. Now they do everything robotic, and they, only have a little incision. They don't have to break anything. Well, the Icaras are like going in and doing the old bypass. Why would you do it that way? Why would you go to a doctor that because he makes more, he does it that way? That's what the Icaras are compared to a MERP.
In what situations does an ICHRA clearly outperform a traditional group insurance plan?
They would outperform it if the premiums were much lower than the group, and in some states they are, and the ones that have the networks. But again, you would never do that if you ever learned about a medical expense reimbursement plan or a health reimbursement arrangement designed correctly.
Yeah. And the way you design things for each individual employee to help the employer figure out, oh my gosh, I can make this so much better. And they're going to be so much happier. And it's going to cost you a lot less. And you need that with all the other increases, right?
Well, the Icarus in some cases will dramatically lower the cost, and it's putting the employer saying they're only going to pay X amount. That's just, it's not a good vehicle compared with the tax law they're using, Section 105. There's better vehicles within the tax law. So why? I mean, it's like, okay, well, you're missing the biggest thing why you offered it in the first place, the benefits. And now you're going to have employees have $10,000 out of pockets.
Exactly.
And they're going to have to pay more the older they are and whatever, it doesn't matter to me. But it's just, everyone who's done an ICHRA, I laugh when I talk to them, because I'm like, well, it makes no sense. You should have kept your United Healthcare or your Aetna plan in place, and you should have let them have a choice. Why would you force them now to have to do all this?
How does ICHRA give employers cost control without cutting employee benefits?
Well, the ones I've seen, they're set up. You're not providing benefits. You're just giving them a dollar amount and saying, good luck, kid.
Because you're the expert, Tom. There you go. End of the day, these are great questions. Thanks to my, awesome research team. But people don't get that. They think ICHRA is great.
Whatever, I think drinking 20 beers is great while you're doing it, but the next day you feel like shit.
So, what compliance rules trip up employers the most when implementing an ICHRA?
Well, you got to get rid of group health almost all the time, depends on. And then you got to do this, you got to do that. And you got to follow the rules. You can only put in so much and blah, 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 blah. I don't even pay attention because I have none of those restrictions with the medical expense plan.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So the best place to go is contact Tom today. Tom, you're
Doing an
seeing
ICHRA, call me so that you at least can provide benefits and use a MERP, the right same tax law, guys.
because then you're giving them a bunch of money that they're never going to use in an ICHRA. A lot of times they're not going to use the healthcare correctly. They're going to spend too much money and they're not going to get the best benefits.
Well, for themselves also. I just don't I don't really. And then I don't know if the money the employees pay, I think, is after tax also. I don't know. Because again, I don't, there's not, all I had to hear was some of the rules. And I said, why would you ever do that with the MERP? And you know what's funny is I've talked to a couple of the TPAs that manage it for these agents. And they've told me that you're absolutely right, that they make no sense compared to a MERP.
Well, see, Tom, you know what you're talking about. Go to claimlinks.com, schedule a call with Tom and his team today. Appreciate it, Tom. That was a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show on the Cutting Edge.